Oh, I was running a 4 gauntlet build with Toxic Fire, or Wind on my right hand always, and then swapping between Toxic Fire and Ice. And so I'd basically run around with Wind and Toxic, and would either like DF NATO people or just use my Toxic Cloud to like just Dragon Fire people straight up. And then I'd swap between like my Ice and my Fire. So my Toxic was literally only there for sorcery.
I run a Tox Stone build that I really like, and I actually think that I could probably the only reason I run the Stone offhand with that build is because I just want to get in close and add more burst damage to the slap. So I'll like Stone Slap, and I could actually still do that and then swap into a range option. Like I'll just do that and then swap into the Frost. So it's like I would still be playing for the sorcery, but as soon as I use the sorcery, I just pocket the Stone and don't bring it back out unless the situation calls for it.
Yeah, that could be interesting with a teleport or a flight, so you can like get in on them.
Yeah, like you were saying,
boulder
with
slap,
Frostborn.
or slap boulder slap, and then teleport away from them and use your frost.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool talent. It's. I think there's more actual in-game application for Spellslinger than there is for Ambi.
Yeah.
I think it's just bad, unfortunately. It's just fun.
I mean, Spellslinger was essentially meta back before talents.
Yeah, before talents.
For like Tempest in particular, it's all about like managing my ranges, right? So like if I'm running away, I can kite with my frost, or I can like open up with my frost, but then once I'm like on top of them, I switch to my fire or my toxic. I feel like Tempest is like the easiest to kind of manage when you should be using what gauntlet. But then it also comes down to being like, you never use your wind to spam, when you could usually just use your wind to spam somebody down and be just as, if not more effective than swapping.
So do you think Ambi would be good if it was a 2-cost? Like actually good, like worth using?
Possibly. I think it's decent now. I think it's just not so much what's bad. It's the fact that like people are forced into using Fervor and Focus Mana. There's talents that are too good that make good talents seem bad.
Agreed. Yeah, so it's funny that you bring that up, because like I think that like the general sense, like the sentiment is shared between people, but like their reaction to things is often very diverse. So people will say something like, oh, they just need to remove the damage mods entirely. And I actually don't like that. And the reason why I don't like that is because I just feel like you're just killing more subjective play. Like you're solving the issue by not solving the issue, but just by removing the issue.
Yeah.
And so like I think that damage modifiers, like anything between actually getting more damage or having like more spellcast speed, a great way of dealing with it is just to make them very low, like a low jump from not having it to having it. So like again, what I said about Fervor is that like the jump from not having additional spellcast speed to having 25%, that is a gigantic jump. And it gets to the point where like, yeah, you do feel like you need it sometimes. And so like I think if they were to reduce that 30% on focus mana down to like 20 or 15%, if they were to reduce that 25% spellcast speed down to 15, then they would still be great options. And you could run other things because they wouldn't feel so suffocated by the better talents.
I think the big issue for me is that God, I had it like perfectly set in my head and it's starting to leave me now. What is the big issue for me? Somebody tell me.
Yes, somebody tell them.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. It doesn't necessarily feel like you got outplayed to die to someone with Fervor. Right?
Yeah,
like,
especially when you don't have it.
Yeah.
It feels awful to die like that when
it
you
doesn't
don't have it yourself.
It doesn't feel like it's adding to your skill ceiling at all. It feels like it's just ups your skill floor, I guess is a good way of putting it. And just like, okay, you do this much more. Like, it doesn't really boost up your ability to actually make plays as much as a lot of other things do.
Yeah.
Like, running Spellslinger, you have to make the plays. You have to outplay the person.
Yeah, and I talk about that in the definition of saying, like, there are some talents that give you value and there are some talents that force you to earn value. And fervor, focus mana, like those talents, they just give it to you. Like you like if you have that on, you're good. And I think that that would be okay as long as that value was low.
Yeah,
and
as long as you could get more value
out of
or
something
a similar
else.
value
like
out of
Foresight, for example. Foresight is, I think, a really good example of something that like it just can't shine in a meta where you just automatically get value out of running something that just makes you faster and stronger and better.
Yeah, I think you should be able to. It should be an option to have base, right? Like, I think Recovery and Thirsty is a really good example of this, where you can run Recovery, right? And you can always have that benefit in your pocket. But if you're running Thirsty, you have to activate it, and you get the same benefit, but more because you're in direct control of it. Does that make sense?
I might need a second explanation on that.
Okay. So Recovery just happens, right?
Yes. So you're saying it would be better if you had to like turn on Recovery?
No, I'm saying it should be an option, right? Like the pick between Recovery and Thirsty is a good pick because newer players can run Recovery, right? Where they don't have to manage as much and they still get benefit out of it, but they don't get as much benefit as if they were to run Thirsty, where they have to actively manage when to pot up, which pots they should have. Stuff like that. Like, you have to manage Thirsty to have increased health. You have to be able to disengage. You have to be able to pop potions mid-fight. Stuff like that. Whereas Recovery is just like, okay, you're being helped now. But in the current state, it's like Thirsty is much better than Recovery in the majority of higher level players' hands. You should, I guess what I'm trying to say is you should always be rewarded more by things that you have to manage than things that are handed to you.
So would Foresight fall under that category for you?
Foresight would be things that are just actively given to you. So they would fall into the Recovery or the Fervor or the Escapist category.
Yeah.
Whereas things like Spellslinger, things like Thirsty, things where you have to actively, like, use them, should always have more benefit. Does that make sense that time?
It does, yeah, it does.
Yeah, we were in, like, a hectic fight.
Ooh.
I don't know, I think that's a pretty big issue. Is that you get the same, if not more, out of something that you don't have to do anything than things that you actively have to manage.
So how do you, like, can we solution time that? Like, what do you think the best option is then? Or, like, how do you...
You would have to change what talents were. So, like, it wouldn't work exactly with the talents that we have now because too many of them are just like, you have this, now you're this much more effective.
Yeah.
And we need more talents that are like, you have this, now you have the ability to do this thing to make you more effective.
So if it was, how would you, like, solve, like, focus mana fervor? Like, if it was your choice.
Like, I think focus mana, if we just put it back to... Hang on, let me hit this shot. Oh, I got stuck on a rock. You're lucky, guy. If focus mana was something that you had to, like, manage more, right? So it was, like, the first shot. So you'd have to actively manage your mana and make sure that that first shot was...
So, like, first shot on a cooldown?
No, first shot, like, only your first shot of your mana bar. Because right now it's above 80%. So you don't really have to manage it. You just run up and you spam with fire. And it's like, okay, well, you've hit on or near this person. So you've already gotten... You've already gotten the benefit. Where I'm thinking... more along the lines of Frost's charge, where you have to like actively decide to use Frost overcharge. It would have to be more like that. I don't know exactly, like this isn't a super fleshed out idea. I've kind of like feel like I've identified the problem but not the solution at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about, because like I don't know how I would change it really. Like I think an easy solution is just to nerf them and to keep the value instantaneous, because I don't mind that as long as there can still be tangible value in things that don't operate in that same way.
But don't you think you should get more value from
solution.
things that you have to actively use?
You should. Are you saying that you should get more value out of those things?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Because
you
you're
definitely
handed fervor. You're not handed the benefit of Spellslinger. You're handed a little bit of benefit, but you have to earn the rest of it. I have to swap between my Frost and my Fire to be effective.
Yeah. I was gonna say, we have some guys behind us from Whitgrave that were being real aggro. Aha, we won that fight.
Aha.
We got them. I actually like that recurring fight. It's been nice.
Mm-hmm. So it's been some solid trades.
Yeah, like I said, okay, Whitgrave team is up there now.
Yep.
I have not seen a Toxic Gauntlet this entire game. I've had a common this whole...
There's a blue right there. Right here.
You want to think?
Oh, that was way further than I wanted that.
Oh, what? How did I just DF that? Okay, I'm not in a good position.
Well, I am.
Let's see what I can do here.
I don't think I've ever hit a fireball in my life. Okay, there we go.
It's a bold statement.
I missed like 7 in a row. You keep throwing down these toxic tornadoes, and I almost kill you with them. They're so fun to blow up.
What the heck? Okay.
Get him! Yes!
Oh, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it. We did the thing.
Teamwork. I'd have to like actively look at the talents right now, because I can't like name them all off the top of my head. But I definitely think
it would take me a bit.
Yeah, it would take me a bit, but like to give examples, I think just like Spellslinger, Fervor, Focus Mana kind of lend themselves to that. Because I can't really think of other things that you have to activate other than Spellslinger and Thirsty. Like, is there any other talents that you have to activate?
I wish that there were more. I think Fervor as an activatable, or Fervor, Jesus, Fortitude as an activatable would be awesome. Like, to be able to control what damage source you don't take damage to.
That dude just got demolished. Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool too.
That said, the issue with managing things like that is always going to be console or controller and their lack of buttons.
Yep.
Like, because literally Jesse said that recently. Like, activatables are kind of a challenge because we don't have the button landscape cross-platform. Okay, I've been playing this Spellslinger build, and the way I'm playing it, this is super fun now. This is actually like a build I'll play.
Are you running it with the stone?
Yeah, but I'm running around with stone as like my main offhand, and then when we get close to people, I'll throw my boulder, and then I swap to Frost and basically play the rest of the fight out with Frost.
Nice.
This is awesome. Yeah, I really like this version of it.
See, I was using it the opposite. I would use my Frost out of the gate, and then I'd bait people, and then swap to my stone once they're in a spot that I can blow them up with stone.
The focus comes from what's more important, trying to catch them with a shockwave or guaranteeing that you hit them with a boulder. Because that's kind of what I'm doing. Like, I'm getting in close, I'm slapping, or I'm boulder slapping, and I'm like, I always land that damage, and then I have the long range option right after. Actually, I think this is kind of like, this build might actually be kind of disgusting. Like, I'm kind of in love with it all of a sudden. I'm basically just putting two builds together. Oh, I see him.
Isn't that what's great about this game?
Oh, he's self. He's invis. It's a guy.
That's like my favorite thing about this is you can, like, how many hours have you put into this game and you're still like, I just tried this build right now and it's my new favorite thing.
Oh, I think
I feel like that happens all
part
the
of this
time.
game that like allows you to identify something for yourself is honestly like what makes Spellbreak so amazing to me. Like it's so good. It's such a good thing.
They just need to hit that right stride with it. A little 20 bomb between us. Not too shabby.
Yeah.